This next question will start with Mr. Beardsley. Chamber member Carrie Weston of Southern Western Marketing and Communications asks, given the importance of growing this economy, what plans do you have, if any, for restructuring the Department of Economic and Community Development?
I would eliminate it. I think there's some functions that could go over to John Doerr in the Department of Labor. I have a hard time pointing to anything that they've done for anybody that I know. I think the governor should be the chief economic development officer of the state. I think the Finance Authority of Maine, MELA, the Maine Housing Authority, the MAHIFA should be consolidated and have a much higher loan guarantee basis, so you've really got a tremendous a force of economic power. Other candidates have proposed other ways to do it, but I think that consolidating the existing system. So I feel that that is one of the departments, along with the State Planning Office. Again, it doesn't mean they aren't doing some things of relevance, but they can be outsourced, let's say, to the Maine Development Foundation or something. So, but I think that's minor compared to what you've got to do in the areas of education and health and human services.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yeah, there's only three ways to create jobs. You either bring a new company here, you help an existing business expand, or you help an early stage company get funding and incubate. That's what we do at Maine & Company. And Maine & Company is the best, when they started, was a best practices model that states use, a public-private partnership, where the state funds and the private sector, who's good at sales and marketing and understands about finance and understands what companies need, administers the program. Florida does it very well, the best in the country. Utah does it very well. South Carolina does it very well. I would outsource it and bring to fruition what the King administration started and we derailed with this administration, is that kind of a public-private partnership where the private sector are the people that are driving the train and the public sector are holding them accountable and helping to fund it.
Mr. LePage?
I agree with Matt. I think it's a private-public partnership. I certainly would shrink that department. I agree with Bill as well that they've not done very well. And I think that different parts of the state have different needs. And I think that the people from different parts of the state have a much better feel for what is needed in their communities than someone sitting in Augusta who's a buddy from the governor who went to high school with him. I think that's absurd and it's despicable. Quite frankly, I think the two biggest areas, though, you need to shrink state government and you need to reform the regulatory system from a control system to an oversight system. And I'll tell you, you do that, you're going to find a lot of companies want to come to Maine. We just need to stabilize and fix our house.
Mr. Mills?
You know, the Department of Economic and Community Development is one of the tiniest in state government, and so whatever you do with it, you're not going to save or lose a whole lot of money. It does contain within it the Bureau of Tourism, which has responsibility for spending about $8 million a year in tourism promotion, which no one here, I think, would cut out. And in fact, if the bill that's on the ballot for June 8th is sustained, there will be something like $12 million for tourism promotion flowing through that bureau. A lot of states take their economic development function and they turn it over to the Department of Labor and have something called the Department of Commerce or Commerce and Labor. And when you think about it, the Labor Department is really doing about the same thing, or has the same goal in mind as a Department of Commerce or Economic Development. I would agree. I would put public money back into Maine & Company. I think that should be restored as a public-private partnership.
Mr. Otten?
I think it's been fairly well said. We have a multiple number of ABC agencies that are essentially all trying to do the same thing, that lack coordination at the senior level of management, which is in the governor's office. And I think it is the governor's responsibility to rein that all in one place, because if it is not going to be centralized and not going to be coordinated, we're going to all be running over each other. And there's 6 different agencies you can go to look for job help and money and help your business. But let's take a look at something that I think is exceedingly important to us here in the state of Maine. We're about to lose 7,000 jobs to Collier County in Florida because Jackson Labs is going to build their new facility there instead of Maine. While we've been sleeping, messing around with all of our tiny little agencies and fighting for fiefdoms, we let the big ones slip away. And that's something that we cannot tolerate. We've got to go after those 7,000 jobs and try to figure out how to bring them back to Maine.
Mr. Abbott?
I think it is an important function, and it is something that's crying out for leadership from the governor's office. There's a lot of lessons we can learn. Look at the work we've done quite a bit at the local level. I mean, I look at the work they've done in Brewer. I look at the work that we've done at Eastern Maine. I think there's some opportunities there, but it does require leadership from the governor, and it also requires a more regional, coordinated approach to economic development.
Chamber member Lewis Payne of Merrill Bank points out that the last Republican nominee for governor got some negative press when it came to his personal finances. His question is, what are your credit scores? We'll start with Mr. Jacobson.
See, I way outpunted my coverage when I got married. My wife is an emergency room physician, so I'm upset there.
Mr. LePage?
I don't believe in debt, and I don't have debt.
And how's your credit?
In cash.
Mr. Mills?
Cash.
I'm another one who likes to live off his spouse if I can, and our credit is reported to be very good, and I don't know the number. It's 7 or I don't even know what the numbers mean, but I think it's somewhere between 700 and 800. But I need to pick up on something that was just said because it's a grotesque fabrication. The state of Maine is not sending 7,000 jobs down to Florida. Jackson Labs has completely refuted that. They're sending down something between 0 and 200 jobs, and they're being paid $260 million they think they are, by the state of Florida to go do that. And frankly, the state of Maine couldn't possibly have competed for that facility down there. I mean, I'm just offended that somebody would say there were 7,000 jobs at stake in that transaction. It's just being done for political reasons, Mr. Otten.
Mr. Otten, we'll give you 30 seconds to respond to that response.
You've been told that that's not true by Jackson Labs.
I have been told that Jackson Labs is intending on moving 200 jobs to Florida that will create a total of 7,000 jobs on their campus. They're receiving $130 million from Collier County. There was never a discussion in the state of Maine, and frankly, I'm appalled that you challenged me, but that's your right. I think the facts will speak for themselves.
I think we have an obligation to the public to challenge you when you produce falsehoods in your campaign literature.
Mr. Otten, did you finish your response?
I'm afraid that if I finish my response, I will elicit another angry response from Mr. Mills. I asked and have talked to the people at Jackson Labs. They would like the opportunity to discuss their situation in the state of Maine. It is not a foregone conclusion that they are going to Florida. To understand what they're doing is they are going to genetically engineer mice that could be used by every drug company in America that would locate around their campus to specifically identify how drugs work in different individuals. The Brookings report that was prepared for the state of Maine calls for exactly that kind of cluster development to occur in Maine. I stand by my statement, and I think we have an opportunity to work with Jackson Labs to create more jobs in Maine.
Now we'll ask you about your credit score.
Well, I'm single, I'm best friends with my ex-wife, and my payments are up to date.
At the end of the table, Mr. Abbott.
I am married and have 2 children, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. We live in a nice house in Portland that has a mortgage, and I have no idea what our credit score is. I can tell you that I am currently unemployed and seeking a job. So...
Mr. Beardsley.
No, I don't know of any credit score. We have no debt, and I've got 3 kids, 2 living in Maine, all of whom have good jobs. And if things get rough, I'm going to certainly turn on them.